In the sun-drenched, glittering world of Euphoria, a television series that holds a mirror to the often brutal realities of modern teenage life, we find characters who are walking constellations of trauma, each shining with a different kind of pain. Among them, Cassie Howard often appears, at first glance, to be the most straightforward, the archetype we think we know, the beautiful, popular girl whose life seems defined by the male gaze. She is introduced to us as the girl with the perfect body. A fact commented upon by peers and adults alike, a truth seemingly as undeniable as the California sun. Her storyline is saturated with romantic entanglements and dramatic breakdowns, but to view Cassie solely through the lens of her relationships is to miss a quieter, more devastating narrative unfolding in plain sight. This is the story of Cassie Howard and a profound, debilitating case of body dysmorphia, a condition where the mirror lies, where a body celebrated by the outside world becomes a prison of perceived flaws in the mind of its inhabitant. Body dysmorphia, for those who may not know, is not simply insecurity or a bad hair day, it is a mental health disorder where a person becomes obsessively focused on a perceived defect in their appearance, a flaw that is either minor or completely invisible to others. This obsession consumes hours of their day, leading to compulsive behaviors like excessive mirror checking or seeking reassurance, and it causes significant distress, impacting their ability to function in daily life. For Cassie, her perfect body is not a source of power or confidence, but the central site of a silent war, a war where the enemy is her own reflection and the weapon is a deep, unshakable belief that her worth is a direct product of her physical form. We must understand Cassie's world to understand her pain. She grows up in a home fractured by addiction and absence, with a father who leaves and a mother struggling to hold the pieces together. In this environment of instability, Cassie learns a dangerous lesson early on, that love and attention are conditional, and that for a girl, the most reliable currency to trade for these things is her body. Her younger sister, Lexi, exists in contrast, often fading into the background, while Cassie is thrust into the spotlight of puberty. Her developing body becoming both her identity and her burden. The show visually reinforces this. We frequently see Cassie scrutinizing herself in mirrors, her gaze not one of admiration but of intense, critical dissection. These are not moments of vanity, but rituals of anxiety. She is not seeing what everyone else sees, the blonde hair, the blue eyes, the figure that fits a very specific, narrow cultural ideal. Instead, she is searching for the cracks in the porcelain, the minute imperfections that she believes will ultimately render her unlovable. This external validation becomes her oxygen. Her sense of self is so fragile, so externalized, that it shatters and rebuilds itself based on the reaction of the last boy who looked at her. Her relationship with Nate Jacobs is the ultimate manifestation of this sickness. Nate is controlling, violent, and sees people not as individuals but as objects to fit into his own distorted narrative. For Cassie, being with Nate, the most coveted and feared boy in school, represents the ultimate validation of her worth. If he chooses her, with all his status and intensity, then she must truly be the beautiful, valuable object she is supposed to be. She molds herself, physically and emotionally, into what she thinks he wants, undergoing a dramatic physical transformation with plastic surgery and changing her entire personality to fit his expectations. This is not the action of a girl in love, this is the compulsive behavior of someone with body dysmorphia, trying to fix herself to match an impossible, external standard to finally feel peace, to finally see in the mirror what she believes others see. The tragedy of Cassie's condition is that it exists in plain sight, yet is constantly misinterpreted. The world, including the people closest to her, often reads her distress as dramatics, her need for male attention as mere promiscuity, and her obsession with her appearance as shallow narcissism. When she has her now iconic meltdown at the school dance, screaming about being a good person and deserving love, it is easy to dismiss it as the hysterics of a heartbroken teenager. But listen closer. Her anguish is rooted in the terrifying realization that even after achieving the perfect body, even after securing the boy, the hollow feeling remains. The mirror still lies. The self-loathing persists. The body she has curated for public consumption feels like a separate entity, a costume that never comes off, and underneath it, she feels like nothing. Her compulsive seeking of sexual validation is not about pleasure, it is a desperate, addictive attempt to feel real, to feel seen, to get a temporary hit of that assurance that yes, her body is acceptable, therefore she is acceptable. It is a heartbreaking cycle. She uses her body to seek love. The attention she receives reinforces the idea that her body is her only value, which in turn deepens the disconnect between her physical self and her sense of identity, fueling the dysmorphia. The show offers us a powerful, literal glimpse into her psyche in the form of her imagined pregnancy. In her destabilized state, Cassie fantasizes about a future with Nate, centered around having his child. This fantasy is punctuated by terrifying visual hallucinations of her body morphing and distorting, her stomach grotesquely expanding and contorting. This is body dysmorphia made cinematic. It represents her deepest fear that her body, the one thing she believes gives her power and purpose, will change, will become imperfect, and in doing so, will erase her completely. It is a fear of becoming invisible, of losing the only language of worth she has ever been taught to speak. Cassie's story is a crucial, modern parable about the difference between being seen and being witnessed. The world sees Cassie Howard's body, it celebrates it, desires it, judges it, and reduces her to it. But no one witnesses the profound suffering of the person living inside that body. Her body dysmorphia thrives in the gap between these two realities. In a culture saturated with social media, filters, and curated images, Cassie's struggle is terrifyingly relatable. How many people, especially young women, look in the mirror and do not see the person who exists in photographs or in the eyes of their lovers? How many have felt that their value is a fluctuating stock market based on their weight, their skin, their adherence to a trend? Cassie's perfect body is a gilded cage. The very attribute that grants her social capital is the source of her immense psychological prison. Her journey on Euphoria is not yet a story of recovery, it is a raw and unflinching portrait of the illness itself. There is no neat resolution, no moment where she looks in the mirror and suddenly sees the truth. Instead, we see the fallout, the broken friendships, the familial strife, the public humiliation, and the relentless internal agony. This lack of an easy fix is what makes her depiction so important. It tells those who suffer in similar silence that they are not alone, that their pain is real and valid, even if the world tells them they are perfect. It challenges the audience to look beyond the surface, to question the easy labels of the hot girl or the dramatic ex-girlfriend, and to understand the complex human being screaming beneath. Cassie Howard, in all her messy, heartbreaking glory, shows us that the most beautiful facade can hide the deepest wounds, and that sometimes the person who most needs to be convinced of your worth is the one staring back at you in the mirror. Her story is a plea for compassion, a reminder that the standards we celebrate can be weapons, and that the pursuit of physical perfection is often a desperate, lonely attempt to heal a broken self-image that no amount of external validation can ever truly mend.